Hello, my fellow YouTube gamers. Isn't it the worst when you've finished playing whatever game it is you've been enjoying in Steam, and then you're just trying to find a new one and find yourself endlessly scrolling through Steam, trying to find a game that piques your interest? I've been there too, and I really don't like that. In fact, there's a lot of things I don't like about the Steam store. Specifically, I mean, just look at this. There's so many things going on in the Steam page, or in the Steam store. It's hard to actually just pick something for my eyes to focus on. There's deals everywhere, images all over the place. It's just, there's so much everywhere. And I would imagine that ultimately this is hurting Steam in some way, because people like me that like to buy a new game every few months or so often struggle to find something that is interesting to them. So what if Steam was designed better, such that it was really easy to discover new games? Wouldn't it result in just more revenue for Steam and a happy customer experience as well for people like me? That's what we're going to do today. We're going to completely redesign the Steam store page with the end user in mind, and hopefully arrive at something much more user-friendly that gets the job done. So here we are in Figma. You can see here, we've got our brand guidelines sorted already. This is basically the color schema that Steam generally uses. They don't do anything too fancy, just a little accent green and blue with a nice subtle black background. And they also just use the Open Sans font for the vast majority of their text. But what we're going to do is actually try to build this, and here I have an example of the Steam store, so you can see how all these kind of little micro decisions get made in the design realm. So, cool. Here we go. So a couple of things to notice here. First of all, you'll see me glancing off to the right a few times. I've actually already tried to do this once before, and I got a decent design, and I'm using that as reference. You'll also notice that I'm not changing anything about the core architecture of Steam generally. All the links and navigation stuff, that's more or less going to be the same. The purpose of this is really just to make it easy for users to navigate a store page and potentially find new games that'd be interesting to them, search the store in a way, and then of course organize all of the games in a way that makes sense to the user. Also building a radically simplified user menu and notification system here that doesn't just pull my attention to the upper right. It exists, it does what it needs to, but it doesn't completely consume my attention. A very common design problem that you'll see all the time with particularly larger companies is that they have way too many navigational elements that are all conflicting for the user's attention, and it's difficult to understand intuitively which one I'm supposed to be interacting with in order to change the context. To fix this, you kind of just want to build the hierarchy in a way that sort of implies that the navigation you're currently interacting with is the one that is controlling the context. So here we do that by adding this big lighter gray background and a tab to the Your Store section here. This implies to the user that if they want to switch the context within the store, they can do it by tweaking the tabs instead of the primary navigation with the big text way at the top. Here it kind of made sense to feature a single game that Steam has decided would be the most interesting to me, as they generally will have some kind of profile of my tastes, having used Steam for so long. So the theory was, if I'm going to maximize the chance of this person that's just logged into Steam of buying a game at this moment in time, it's going to have to be, you're going to have to only show them one game, and you really want to put your best foot forward here. So this is something I think Steam gets they get this right in their discovery queue, but this is just kind of taking that a step further. It's kind of saying like Steam the company, we know your tastes so well, this is probably the best recommendation for you, and all of that's going to be explained in the tooltip, just to the side of the section label. But I think this is kind of something that's missing in Steam. They're trying to chase 5 rabbits at once with all the different call to actions, and because of that, they don't catch any of them. Here you'll see me create a whole bunch of purchase options for games. Normally there's like lots of different ways you can buy certain games on Steam. But generally when you do something like this with multiple calls to action, you kind of want to put them in their own little container like I'm doing here, so that the user isn't overwhelmed with all the calls to action and they can just focus on that container when they want to move forward and select the appropriate call to action for their needs. Although the main value prop of this new design is kind of really simplifying it and giving the user just one option as opposed to hundreds and hundreds of options, it still makes sense that if the user indicates to the application that they're not interested in that offer by scrolling down, that we should kind of still offer them a series of, potential other things to download, right? But still, we're going to do it in a manner where we're not bombarding the user with sale signs. We're just displaying the content, letting it stand on its own, and then allowing the user to opt in to learn a little bit more about that game if they want, based on the genre and other sorts of metadata. And of course, Steam does a lot more than just advertise games to people, right? It's your library, and for many people it's also a place to be social. But that doesn't mean that we have to overwhelm the user with this additional social network almost. So here what you're seeing me do is implement a sort of a floating widget that persists as you scroll, which will allow users to click to engage in that separate part of Steam, the social network side. All right, and there we have it. I am finally satisfied with my creation. Steam is no longer an abomination in my eyes, and we've gone from what was previously an experience where there was just so much calling for your attention that it was really hard for you to actually focus on something, to a very intentional UI that's designed almost exclusively with the user in mind. I'm focused, from Steam's perspective, I'm focused on providing you with recommendations that would be most suited to your buying purchases, because I know who you are. I've seen you download many, many games at this point. And I'm just going to show them to you in the order that makes the most sense to you. And then, of course, if you'd like to browse additional genres, you can also do that. And then we've also got the additional functions of the Steam store, like the chat, kind of subdued in the background, where users can interact with it, but it's not the main. It's not also, again, competing for the user's attention. It's all hidden away behind that button. And this is why I really like to advocate about design. You don't need some crazy, flashy, new design aesthetic to improve the design on things generally. You just need to kind of think about the information where it needs to flow in the page and then place it there. And then just, add some color to draw users' attention through the experience. But I hope you found this useful. If you did, leave me a comment letting me know what kind of games you generally play. Or if any of you play Rust, I can maybe add you. But hope y'all are having a wonderful day. Hope this was useful for you, and I will see you in the next one.